Day weather at the top and bottom of each hour on AM 650 KGAB.
We're back in the Morning Zone, and back to the phones we go. Good morning. You're on KGAB's Morning Zone.
Good morning, Dave. Howard here.
Hello, Howard.
Okay, well, you and Jim just touched on a thing about in Egypt where the military overthrew the dictator.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how many people are aware that over here, Barry is getting rid of the military leadership and appointing political hacks that owe their allegiance to him? The military is supposed to owe their allegiance to the Constitution, not some despot. And I noticed I did say despot. That's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And until the citizens wake up and see what's happening, this country is doomed.
I think more and more people are beginning to wake up. His approval rating is down to less than 30%.
It shouldn't be 1%.
30% is the lowest it's ever been for a president.
Yeah, I mean, but 30%. It should, as I said, it should not even be 1% approval rating.
Yeah, I agree.
I know, and then what he keeps saying with the medical care, his Barry care system, it was by some guy by the name of Adolf who said, you repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to do here with medical care.
Well,
and when
exactly.
it comes to medical care, the only thing in the Constitution that pertains to medical care is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8. It pertains to patents. So if a doctor comes up with a new treatment method or a pharmaceutical comes up with a new drug, they get a patent for it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else is not in the Constitution.
That's right.
Well, I guess that idiot Roberts just couldn't understand that.
Yeah.
You notice that word literally, idiots.
Well, I don't know. I think he might have been smart like a fox, in that, part of the way the ruling came out is why they're having trouble instituting Obamacare now.
And then the Republicans, all they want to do is delay it. Don't delay it. Get rid of it.
I don't think they're going to have to do a thing. I think it's going to self-destruct.
Yeah, but what's it going to do in that time when it does before it self-destructs?
Well, what we're seeing is already we're seeing insurance policies being canceled. We're seeing the cost of insurance going up. It's going to create disaster is what it's going to do.
Well, it's not, besides that, doctors are dropping out because, don't forget, they go for several years to school to become a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to get paid what it would cost them to go to school. And who would you rather listen to? If your doctor prescribes a treatment or some government bureaucrat who doesn't know, I won't say those words, one end from the other end.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, Howard, thank you. All right, back to the phones. You're on the air. Good morning. They hung up. 1-888-503-6500. 307-632-6500. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave. Say, back to your little news brief on the Building Commission or Facilities Commission or whatever it is.
Yeah, what we're going to be talking to Cindy Hill about in the 9 o'clock hour,
Well, it's just, I heard you talking about that, and I almost fell over. That we're going to be spending $4.5 million on a building, or the design of a building, that we have no idea how much we're going to budget for it or how expensive it's going to be.
Or can we afford it?
Can we afford it? And it's somehow, there is no spending discipline in this state government. And, the Wyoming citizens are getting screwed big time. And it's somehow beneath this governor and the other elected officials that voted for this, it's somehow beneath them to ask how much something costs. And I just find it's almost criminal that they can spend money. And of course we understand why they can spend money so freely is because it's other people's money, other hardworking taxpayers' money. And we've got to get our state government back in some form of spending discipline. And maybe it's because we've been so spoiled with all those severance taxes and the mineral royalties. We've been so spoiled. And what people don't realize, what Wyoming citizens don't realize, is that's their money.
That's right.
The money that comes out of the ground or the money that comes from the minerals that come out of the ground, those royalty dollars, are Wyoming citizens' dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And we hand that money over to the legislature to spend prudently. And they're obviously not doing that, and it's just disgusting. And we've got to stop this this runaway train, this runaway state government. It's just, I just can't believe it. Would I hire an architect to design a house for me and not give that architect a budget?
Well, yeah, this makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. $4.5 million, like it was pocket change.
Well, how about, and then in the news break, you also had another consultant with our water plan, the BP, what is it?
BOPU.
They spent $900,000 on a plan for basically telling us that we have to conserve water. Yeah. I don't know. I just think these consultants, are spending or just they have access to the taxpayers' pockets too easily because we have corrupt governors, corrupt legislators who will not, stop this. So that's all. That's my rant. It's just
well, it's a good one.
Hear what Cindy Hill has to say because
at
she'll
least be on
someone on that board is showing some spending restraint.
She'll be on with us at 9:07. So hang on.
Great. Thanks, Dave.
You bet. Thanks for your call. And we're going to roll to the top of the hour, update you on the latest news and information before we talk with Cindy Hill. Her monthly visit with us. She's on with us the second Monday of every month. I wish it was Tuesday. A lot of you don't have to work today, and our thanks to our veterans who have served this country so well. Today is Veterans Day. It's more than just a day off. It's a day to remember that freedom isn't free. Welcome back into the Morning Zone on AM 650 KGAB, Cheyenne's #1 news talk. And it is my pleasure, as we do monthly, to have the elected State Superintendent of Public Instructions. She was elected by the voters of Wyoming to fill that position, Cindy Hill. And Cindy is in Gillette today, but is on the phone with us from up there. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Dave.
How are you doing up there in Gillette?
Well, we're about 20 miles out. We're pulled over. We're near Coal Creek, and we are happy to be here. It's a gorgeous morning, and we have 5 cell bars, so we're in good shape.
Well, fantastic. Well, what we're going to talk about this morning is pretty controversial. I mentioned this earlier, and we already had some phone calls generated by it. People cannot believe that the State Building Commission, you are a member of that, voted less your vote, $4.5 million for consultants to finish the final stage work on the Capitol construction, and we don't even know what the final plan is going to look like. We haven't really established a budget for what we want them to work within now. And I had a caller just before the break say, if he was going to hire an architect to add on to his business or his home, he would tell him, not only what he would like to see, but he would say, but I have to work within a budget of X number of dollars. Can you design around that? And the architect would then say either yes or no. And if no, then he'd go looking for another architect to find if he could design around his budget. Apparently, the process with the legislature and state government is you do the design, and then you figure out whether or not you can pay for it. It's okay if it costs $4.5 million to do the design. You didn't think that was a good idea.
I didn't, and I didn't last month when we had an urgent special meeting last month. This month we had the special meeting again. As we walked in, we all greeted each other, saying good morning. We don't usually meet in the afternoon, but we've had these meetings, these special meetings that really the public, even though, as the governor said, there was a notice put out, most people have no idea that these things are taking place. I felt very uncomfortable last month. I felt uncomfortable this month. I voted no each time. And I believe that there's a scope creep, as you mentioned, where if you don't have the parameters of a project and you haven't voted either yes or no as to that project, why would you continue to spend millions going in the direction? I'm very concerned about the lack of knowledge of the public in this. I'm glad that you're talking about it, Dave. Most of the people in the room were either, from state government, people who are bureaucrats, of course, and then those who are going to profit from this. We had lobbyists involved in that meeting. You could see many lobbyists. There were, of course, good. The media was there, but also there were consultants and contractors in the room. But I'm thinking the people are the ones who need to know about this. It's the people's money. Unfortunately, Dave, sometimes the money doesn't really go to those things that the people know are in our best interest. Sometimes they go in directions that profit others.
Well, and I understand that the governor rejected what you were saying as this being scope creep, and you and he had several heated exchanges about this.
Well, and Dave, that's uncomfortable. I know, for me at least, and I'm willing to do it though because I know I was elected by the people, and so it's my responsibility to speak to those important issues that I see before us. And especially when I think that the people would be, very dismayed to see that a project, initially this was $55 million, identified as a $55 million capital renovation project, which seemed like a lot of money to me, but the capital is very important to all of us. I just wanted to see the parameters of where the $55 million would be spent. Then it became obvious to me that there was something at hand here, and it went to $90 million with an addition, a 6-story addition to the Hersler building, a proposed 6-story addition to the Hersler building, and I was opposed to that. And then I saw numbers, though no one wanted to talk about it, but the numbers are there. And again, proposed numbers of $196 million, again, for additions. And I'm not clear as to why we would be doing this. We started off with, again, a capital renovation, which is very important. We need it to be ADA accessible. We want to make certain we're meeting fire codes and other mechanical needs. But this seems to have been someone's agenda. This is what Senator Nicholas said again during the meeting, that they've been saving for this since 2006. I believe that Dan Swanitzer said since 2003. And there's nearly $100 million that's been saved. Now remember, we just came through a session where they told us we need to have a gas tax. The people of Wyoming are paying nearly a quarter for every gallon of gas that they are putting into their tank, nearly a quarter in tax. And we're giving now raises to UW employees will be proposed raises. There are proposed raises for state employees. There's a great deal of money that's being spent, but we're taxing the people. And as you know, that's not the Wyoming way.
No, not at all. Well, since our other line is not working properly, I'm going to give a cell phone number, and those of you that would like to pose a question or make a comment to Cindy may do so this way. It's not ideal, but we can get your thoughts to her. And the phone number for that cell phone is 256-6166, 256-6166, area code 307-256-6166. And we will feed you through the microphone so Cindy can hear your comments and respond, and we'll try to do it that way, because I know there are a lot of feelings out there, and My interface is still, we've ordered a new interface. It has not arrived yet this morning for the second line. So that way you can do that. So if you have a question, you can.
That was so thoughtful of you, because you know how important it is, I believe, to hear the voices of the people. And one of the concerns I've had is that some of the public comment has been denied by some of the legislative committees. It was denied by the State Board of Education last month. I really believe in those first 7 words of the Constitution. All power is inherent in the people. That's who elected me. That's who I listen to, and thank you for making that possible for people to call in. While we're waiting, if you don't mind, Judge Paul Limas was honored today, I understand, for Veterans Day. He was in the paper. He's a Marine Raider from World War II, and you probably knew all about that group of special forces in the 6th Marine Division. Are you familiar with it, Dave?
Yes,
They were among that. He saw a lot of combat, and it was during the World War II, during the Pacific Theater.
Right.
And he fought in Okinawa, and was one of the Marines who took part in one of the most bloody engagements, the assault on Sugarloaf Hill. And he's a family friend. He was my father-in-law's best friend since 5th grade. And so he's a humble man. He doesn't speak a lot about these things. He's quiet and humble, very hardworking.
Well, all right, let's see if we can get this phone call on. Good morning, you're on with Cindy Hill. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Terry Powers again in Wheeling. I just wanted to remind everybody that may not know, a week from today, that the Capitol in room 302 will be a meeting with the Speaker of the House. Lubnow is going to have with his committees that are going to come forward to give him information on what they've come up with in their review of I guess, the investigation of Superintendent of Public Instruction Cindy Hill's as she was serving and doing her duties as our elected superintendent. And that, again, is at 8 o'clock a week from today, room 302 in the Capitol building. And anybody and everybody that feels the way a lot of us do about the railroad job just going on with Cindy should be there. Now, I think it said that there would not be any public comments, but the more people there to hear what they have to say and show support for Cindy, the better.
All right. Well, thank you for your call, and we'll let you listen to her comments off the air, okay?
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you, Kerry. You know, that is next Monday, the 18th. Again, Mr. Lubnow will be having his investigatory committee meeting. And, again, no public comment. Good point. That should never be denied. Government serves the people, not the other way around. But as you know, this isn't about the facts. This is about politics. And this investigatory committee was formed, several months ago. It was formed after the McPherson Committee. The McPherson report was assigned right after I'd announced I'm running for governor. So we know that we've been in a political challenge. I smile because, as you know also, we've heard, well, these are allegations and they're all well documented. And I've asked for those well documented documents I had 4 requests to Mr. Lubnow, and he hasn't responded, not even a response, let alone giving me any well-documented allegations. So I'd like to see those documents. Haven't been able to get a thing, not a single document. As you know, Dave, I certainly have been asking the governor for documents for months. A citizen asked for it nearly a year ago for one person's email, Mary Kay Hill's emails, and we've only received a sliver of documents. And so I put in a call after your radio program. I put in, we have a request to the governor to speak with him. He's not responded, and so it looks like we will be serving the governor on another lawsuit here within so many days. I'm going to give him a little bit more time because I'm trying my best to work with this fella. But if he can't work with us, as you know, my staff of 5, I only have 5 staff, and they were able to turn over. A subpoena request was so broad, they turned over 130,000 emails, and in addition to documents. And if 5 people can do that in 11 days, and the governor has nearly 400 people in one department, one information technology department, it seems to me they can turn over a handful of staff's emails to us. So we're still waiting, but we may have to be a little bit more assertive and move this into district court if people certainly won't do their part in being transparent.
I got a text that says, Dave, Cindy Hill's voting record shows that she is a true conservative. Therefore, the most attacked by liberal media. But that's how you tell that you're conservative. Not that they say, but what they vote on, and a servant, not a politician. And he wants me to ask you and everyone to keep their kids from the home on the 18th to protest the Common Core that's been passed by the state. So I'm sure he's listening to get your comment.
Well, of course, I always hate for kids to miss school.
Sure.
So I'm a bad one to ask, but I would say to this, to his first comment, which is so important. And I appreciate his, thank you so much for those kind words, because actions really matter to me. And so I would say to you, when you mentioned about the certain media, I want you to know most papers and most reporters are honorable. We have the Casper Star in this state that has a political agenda, a progressive political agenda, and everyone knows that. In fact, I would say it's more than that. I think they're benefiting, and should I be elected governor, I will find out just how many state dollars they're benefiting by. But I will also say the Huffington Post seems to have an interest. It's one of the most liberal newspapers in America. It seems to have an interest in this race, and they're supporting Matt Mead. So this is most interesting that we have. Yeah, the Huffington Post is interested in Wyoming's race, and they're just attacking me voraciously and supporting Matt Mead. And I would be appalled if the Huffington Post supported me. So I want you to know my actions certainly have impacted a lot of people who are uncomfortable with them. But I'm glad that the person who texted you is watching, because really, Dave, it's what you do when no one's watching.
That's right.
That matters. And that's what we want.
Okay, we've got to go to the bottom of the hour break. We'll continue on the other side with Cindy Hill. You can send us an email. If you have a question for her, kgab.com, click on Contact Us, or you can call us on our cell phone number, 256-6166, that we're using this morning, or you can text us at that same line, and I will read the text to her on the air, since we're working under a little bit of a handicap with one down phone line. But we will be back with Cindy Hill in the Morning Zone.
You're in the Morning Zone on AM 650 KGAB.
And we're back in the Morning Zone on AM 650 KGAB, Cheyenne's #1 news talk, as we continue our discussion with Cindy Hill, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, in her monthly visit with us. 51 degrees now and sunshine at KGAB. And Cindy, thank you for being with us and holding on through the break. We appreciate that, and appreciate all that you do to keep us up to speed on this. Talking this morning specifically with this article that was out last week about the renovation of the state capitol, and Cindy is one of the 5 elected state officials to vote on these issues, and the State Building Commission. And they voted, if you're not familiar with it, $4.5 million for consultants to finish the final design work of the project without ever knowing what the project is going to cost. Now, they talk about in this, some of this may include a tunnel between the Capitol and the Herschler building, where there would be additional meeting rooms and offices. Sounds to me like government growth to me.
You know, and Dave, you're so correct. And in the last decade, government has doubled in its size. You know this. I know you do.
Yes.
And so there's no spending restraint going on in this governor. And I'm just wondering, where's the discipline? He was elected by the people as well, and the people expect discipline. This is the people's money. And so I think it really shows, again, not only the growth of state government, but the continued growth in state government. It's really uncomfortable for electeds who have so much pressure from the bureaucracy that kind of seems to run everything in state government, that really enjoys the growth. But we listen to the people as electeds. And I know there was a little heartache and comfortable moments during the last 2 meetings, but certainly this last one, because someone said, you're making this political. And I'm thinking, by bringing in the voice of the people, that makes it political? I think not.
I think it makes it prudent to watch the money that we're spending of the public's.
Yes, but when you're living within, you know, Cheyenne's kind of its own, state government has an energy in itself. And I know that I felt those pressures. I felt them last week. I felt them the month before in that special meeting. I felt them since I came into office. This is how we do things. This is the direction we're going. And I just smile, and I always think of the voices of the people and think, wow, this is what the people before me encountered. This is what other electeds experience. And you know I'm not going to fold. I've shown that again and again, and my actions are going to be that which I can be proud of when I speak with the people, when I listen to the people. That's something that I'm so glad that I'm an elected, appointed, I think, people who are appointed. I think that they're more vulnerable to these things. They take their orders from those from within the system. You know, the new education director answers to one person. He answers to the governor.
Right.
And even when you don't, as an elected, you still feel tremendous pressures. And yet, I think the most important energy in this equation is from the people.
The initial view of some of the things that needed to be done with the Capitol, some of them are fire suppression related. It obviously doesn't meet fire code. There's no sprinkler system or anything of that nature. Some of it's electrical and that sort of thing. Physical things that make some sense to preserve our historical capital, but to expand it and to spend $200 million doing that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. And they will say, oh, it's not going to be $200 million, Bill. It started at 55, then it was $90 million, and with the additions, and now the numbers were $197 million. Those are the last numbers my team and I saw. And I don't have any reason to believe that it won't go beyond that. But let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it until we've actually made a decision.
Oh, yeah, let's not talk about it, because then that's going to make the voters angry, right?
Yes, and let's talk about some other numbers. Here's some numbers. you might have noticed that the NAEP scores were out last week, and the new director, Richard Crandall, said we're getting a good return on our investment. Oh, he didn't get his talking points from the governor. He's going to have to reassess that. Deb Lindsay may have been, I hope she was misquoted, in the Cheyenne Tribune Eagle. She works in the department, because she said the data shows that students haven't improved, that they have not improved, and they actually have. And so I don't know her exact quote, but it had indicated that there wasn't the improvement there, and there is. Let me give you an idea. Can I talk about NAEP scores for a moment?
Absolutely.
Okay, so in fourth grade math, I hope students and parents and teachers hear this. In fourth grade math, that only 3 states in the country had higher statistical average scale scores than Wyoming in fourth grade math. In 8th grade math, okay, 8th grade, only 7 states had higher statistical average scale scores than Wyoming. In 4th grade reading, only 6 states have higher statistical average scale scores. And in 8th grade reading, it had 7 states that had higher statistical averages. And so there's so much good news to share. And yet, it seems like there's a couple, folks who just want to keep on that drumbeat of negativity towards our educational system. The Hispanic students grew from 271 to 278. This is remarkable. This is great. Our Hispanic students continue to do well in Wyoming. Why wouldn't we celebrate that? It's wonderful that we see that we have the smallest performance gaps in the country. The smallest performance gaps, meaning that our free and reduced lunch, our special ed, our boys versus girls, our Hispanic subgroups, they're all very small gaps. That means it's really about being the equality state. That it's a sign of good instruction for all students, Dave. That Wyoming teachers teach all kids well. They teach every student that they get.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so much to celebrate. And now remember NAEP. NAEP is that test that is giving a comparison. It's the only one that gives a state-to-state comparison.
Yes.
And so it's really important to remember that not only is it important that everyone else wants that comparison, but when we have it, we should celebrate it. It's a consistent assessment, and we can count on, it's a sampling, so it's not precise, but it's consistent, and so people can feel good about those results. I smile and say, I don't know when these guys are going to get a sense that their approach is not working here. The people are really smart, and we read, and we know what the facts are. So whenever we're dealing with facts, I think Wyoming does just fine. In fact, Cindy Hill does just fine when there are facts. And I think that we'll have more and more facts coming out as the days and months move forward.
Well, and the testing is very important because we're still in the evaluation stages, I understand, as to what the final accepted national test will be. Is that not true? To replace the pause test?
Right, and they're really pressing that we go with a national assessment. There's a lot of pressure there, even though you hear otherwise. I watch what's going on behind the scenes, kind of like that building that we're talking about, how all those things kind of change, and you don't hear about them until after the fact.
Right.
There's a great deal of pressure to have a national assessment, just as the Common Core. There's a great deal of pressure with Race to the Top funding to have a Common Core assessment. Because that's how you get, Race to the Top money. That's how you get more federal dollars. Ultimately, you're scored on whether or not you've adopted the Common Core, whether or not you have a national assessment.
I know my listeners, and you've heard this too, Cindy, when you've been on with us before, are very, very, very skeptical of Common Core and what it will be able to bring to our education system.
Well, absolutely. And, I've always said I'm more concerned about where we go. When you have the Common Core, I think people are worried about it. I know that there's challenges that I can see. I would say that the assessment is really what links this with the curriculum, because the teachers will be evaluated, or at least that's the movement. The teachers will be evaluated on some of these national measures and the students' performance on those national measures, and that's how it gets into the classroom. And I think that's where the worry for many of us is getting, the curriculum reflecting, the teachers being required to actually follow a prescribed curriculum. And right now, we may say, the standards have their concerns, but maybe not everyone's aware of them. But I think you're seeing growing concern about the Common Core. Last week, the State Board of Education did not move forward the national standards or the social studies standards or the PE standards. So there was hesitation there, so they didn't move them forward. Now in January, for all those who are listening, January 24th and 25th, they may want to attend the State Board of Education meeting in Cheyenne. Again, they may be voting on those national standards for science, for social studies, and for PE. You may want to join everyone and weigh in. Use your voice.
I know when you first took office, Cindy, you had a great deal of concern about the University of Wyoming, and you made some changes there in terms of staffing and the like. I notice the new president has come under a great deal of fire for kind of his style of management. In fact, we've seen, 5 different deans now who have submitted their resignation. Is that something that we should be concerned about, or is that kind of normal under a higher level office change, such as president of a university like that?
Well, I would imagine a lot of people are concerned. I've heard it, and I think that President Sternberg will respond. He certainly was in the law school on Friday. And I think that he was surprised by the approach that was taken there. And I think you'll see him return. I found him to be someone who is interested in communicating.
Well, we're getting some phone popping and some static.
Can I call you right back?
That'd be fine. I'm going to take a break, and we'll let you call us back, and we'll see if we can get a better connection. All right. We'll be back with Cindy Hill.
You're in the Morning Zone on AM 650 KGAB.
We are back with State Superintendent Cindy Hill. And Cindy, in the midst of our discussion on the Common Core, we began to have some phone problems, so thought we'd give you a chance to maybe kind of reiterate that for those who could not hear that clearly.
Well, thank you, Dave. And, I know that we worry because we see that even our schools, may be dictated by Washington, D.C. with uniform set of standards and tests and lessons. And though some would say that those standards and tests and lessons look benign, some would say that. Not everyone, but some. We know, you and I know, that it's a very small step to a potential of further indoctrination, and that's what the federal government does. It doesn't educate. It can only indoctrinate. So, one of the things I think was most disturbing is when I asked, right when I came into the department, well, what if Wyoming had no federal government involvement in education in Wyoming?
Mm-hmm.
What would it look like if the federal government was out of education in Wyoming? And now it's gone the other direction since SF-104 was signed by the governor. He's actually moving us towards not just more federal indoctrination through the waiver, which means more federalization, has more federal requirements than ever before. He had the department applying for that right after he signed SF-104.
Mm-hmm.
But now he has us moving towards universal child care. We're going to be gathering data on preschoolers. And so we're going in the opposite direction of where I think is best for us. I smile and say, why would we want the federal government? Why would we want the federal government to be leading? I guess it's easier to follow them. Not for me. If you look at the D.C. schools, the Washington D.C. schools, they're the lowest performers. They would be the lowest. And I would say, why wouldn't we want to Wyomingize those schools? Why would we want the opposite?
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly, I mean, Wyoming is different from other parts of the country. We've talked about that before. One of the fundamental problems with Common Core is it doesn't take into consideration the demographics of the location of the schools. That's why we have always, in this country, dedicated our public school system to local control.
And you know how I feel about local control. I think the best solutions are made closest to wherever those solutions can be implemented. And I don't believe that, as the governor does, that the legislature should be micromanaging education. I don't believe the governor has said, let me give a better quote, that wasn't exactly what he said. He said education is controlled by the legislature. And the legislature believes they should be micromanaging education. Well, the federal government believes they should be they should be leading the states, and I disagree with all of them. I think the reason Wyoming is doing as well as we are, and we're only making progress, when I was in office for those 2 years, it's because I believe in local control,
sure.
And I wasn't interfering with districts. I was trying to support them. Our department at that point really was not being, we were following compliance, but we really wanted to be supportive.
You bet.
And that meant that you honor really what's needed in the districts and how do we support you in your work. So we were up 2 years in a row, every subject matter tested, every grade level tested. Hadn't happened in decades. So those increases were notable. And you never heard about those except for when I would mention them. I just wonder, why can't we celebrate the good news and the teachers and their hard work?
Well, Cindy, we are out of time. I always appreciate you coming on with us monthly and keeping us updated as to what's happening in our public school system and some of the other issues that you're involved with as one of the top elected officials in the state. We appreciate that.
Could I say thank you for all those who are veterans and have served so valiantly, and thank them for their service.
Absolutely. We want to do that. We echo your sentiment, believe me. Keep them in our prayers. Cindy, thank you so much. God bless you. All right, we want to thank Frosty Waldrich for being with us, as well as Larry Pratt and Cindy Hill.